What's up, folks? What's up, man? Welcome to the latest episode, latest edition, whatever you want to call it, of Terrible Town Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, and it's time for me to kick it off with you guys, man. Welcome. Sorry for that background noise you just heard there. It was bleeding through my headphones. But I'm ready to get started, man, and get into another show. How's everybody doing tonight? We're going to say hello to you guys. Y'all always know that's how I do first and foremost. I say hello to you guys. Hold on, guys. Let me make a quick adjustment here. Quick minor adjustment to my microphone. Give me 2 shakes of a rattlesnake. All right, there we go. There we are. So how's it? How's everybody doing, man? Got a few things to talk about here tonight, man. I will probably be brief tonight. You know, again, these shows have been very brief. It's funny, I always say that, and they've gone to about an hour. This one will probably be a little less than that because, again, there's not a lot to talk about. I'll just hit some things, be very fast with my comments, and then open it up to the calls, and there you have it. But I don't expect this show, to go an hour. But there are a couple of interesting things to talk about. So let's not delay. Let me say what's up to you guys like I always do first and foremost. What's up to the good brother C. Antoine Hill. Rel Fax is in the building. Jason Winningham. Big Dro. Builder's Life. Miss Lanisha, how you doing this evening? Who else we got out there? My good brother Kenyon in the building as always. What's up, Kenyon? We've been talking all day via text. Y'all know how that goes. Minnie Jordan, D2. Who else do I see here? Y Diggy, Jay Vega, Jordan Mid, Kegels Bagel, Havoc. Let's see, Rajon or Rojan or Rajan. I don't know. You know who you are. Who else? Boulevard Ware. And I'll read one more name. There we go. Depressed Steelers fan. Yeah, man. You know what? Your name is going to ring very, very true here tonight, and I will explain to you guys why. But how is everybody doing this fine evening? First thing we'll talk about, man, let me look at my notes here. Let me take a look at my notes so I can stay on task. Let me see. What's the first thing I want to throw at you guys today? First thing we'll talk about. Well, let me set the stage. You guys see the title there. The biggest question of tonight. Man, and let me say that for the newcomers, for you guys who are not familiar with the show or familiar with how I do things, I try to have a lead theme, and then I have like subcategories. So the biggest theme will always be the title of the show. You know, that's just my little niche, whatever you want to call it. That's just, a little corny thing I like to do is put the lead topic as the title. That's the one that's going to catch your attention for the most part. That's the overall, biggest point or the biggest fish, if you will, as far as the topics. And then there'll be other little things. So obviously you guys see that in the comments, in the title. We got to definitely talk about the Steelers coming to training camp, the very unconventional training camp, but will there be a season? It's definitely got to be the number one question. So right behind that, I'll bleed into a piece of that. We'll talk about COVID-19 first and foremost, the coronavirus. I don't know, guys. It's tough. It's tough. We know at least one Steeler has been put on the list. I believe his name is Arian Springs, I think. Arian or Darian Springs. A cornerback, if I remember correctly, not necessarily a guy that most of you guys would know. I didn't even really know much about him. One of those fringe guys. But we've already seen those effects. Now, the thing is, we don't know whether or not, this guy has it, tested positive, or maybe he's been in contact with somebody who did. So I believe to understand that it's not, it's not so much that, it's not just the case that they have it. It could be that they've been in contact with somebody and they're in the official quarantine, right? If you guys have been watching TV and watching the news and watching sports, we all see what's going on with the Marlins, unfortunately, in the MLB. Good Lord. I mean, the last time I checked, what was it, 13, 14 people in their organization, mostly players, have come down with it. There's quite a few players, in the NFL. I believe it's right now the total is about 107 or so. Maybe might have grown since, I last got that information. And quite a few players are opting out. So that's interesting. So I'll give my little piece on that, and then I will circle back to that because I really want to talk about whether or not there will be a season and what that means for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, it's a tough situation, man. It makes me wonder, kind of like I said last week, we're going to have to pay attention to the MLB. We'll have to pay attention to the NBA and see how these things transpire, right? Depending on how everything transpires with them, the NBA seems to have a better control of it so far, but we'll see. And baseball is having these little pockets of people, especially with the outbreak in Florida. We'll have to see how everything works throughout the remainder of this time through August until you would expect the NFL to kick off week 1. It's going to be very telling, as far as if the NFL will or will not have a season, if there will or will not be canceled regular season games. We already know about preseason. And for you guys that don't know, preseason will not be happening. And we all know, at this point it's been pretty much confirmed that, they're going to have the 80-man roster situation. What I don't know for sure is if that's, a mandate. I keep hearing stuff about some type of split roster, and I don't necessarily know what all that means. I didn't look into it. But for the most part, there's some teams that have already cut down, and there's some teams that I think have still a week or so to decide if they're going to cut down to an 80-man roster or what have you. It's just crazy, man. Just speaking on preseason, that part alone is tough for me because that's when, even as fans, crazy guys like me, as far as those who analyze the team and, try to dissect each and every player, I ain't going to be able to do that. It's really going to come down to practice reports, whatever we hear, when any media is able to be at practice, and it's going to come down to us seeing what these guys do in the game. You know what I mean? I watched the interview they did with Alex Highsmith earlier today, and one of the reporters basically said exactly that. He's like, what are your thoughts on your first NFL action being an actual game, right? Not preseason. An actual game is going to be your first taste of the NFL. That's different. It makes me wonder, man. It really makes me wonder what a lot of these guys that, are fringe players, they're going to get shorted. They're not going to get the opportunity to even show what they got. Of course you're going to have practice, but one thing that you cannot replicate in practice is live game speed. Even though guys are out there competing as hard as they want to be, we all know in the Steelers organization with backs on backers, those guys are really competing, but it's still not 100%, even if you're going 100%. And let me explain what I mean. You guys play sports, right? I play football, I play baseball, I play different sports. There was nothing like, especially in football, was nothing like coming in, in the summer and, practicing and getting ready for the season and, we teeing off on each other. And even back in high school, you're doing your Oklahoma drills. Some of y'all might not even know what that is, but the real ones know. The Oklahoma. Funny thing about that, I saw somebody post on Facebook. He had a picture of the Oklahoma drill, like both guys laying on their back. And he said, this drill alone has created so many basketball players. And he said only the real ones will understand. And I thought that was hilarious because yes, y'all know that Oklahoma drill was a man and a man, and sometimes the lesser of the man, walked away with his head down. That was a man's drill right there, even in high school. But the thing is, we would be pumped, but it was nothing like when we was able to scrimmage another team. What? We was able to put together, what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, and we get to play another opponent, and that was a scrimmage. Intensity level went up a notch. It was nothing like first week of the season. Nothing. That first game, intensity level through the roof. That's intensity that you just cannot match in practice. So that's what makes me a little bit concerned, man, for the newer guys and even guys that are looking to get more opportunities. Guys like Justin Lane, they ain't getting it. And we all know how the Steelers operate, and mainly how most teams are probably going to operate this year. You're going to go with what's familiar. You're going to go with what you know. You're not taking a whole lot of chances. So that's a very unfortunate, man. But yeah, this whole coronavirus thing is real, man. It's been real. And like I said, I'm one of those people that I listen to everything. I listen to the people who, claim there was a hoax. And, and what I mean when I say listen, I want to hear, your thought process. I'm that type of person. I dissect and process information based off of what people tell me, whether I agree or disagree. I believe you can learn something from anything. Even when you're in full disagreement, you learn something from that situation. You might learn that, wow, me and this person will never see eye to eye on certain things. Or you might learn, you know what, let me look at it from their perspective. So I listen to all them people too. The people who think it was a hoax. The people who thought it was a conspiracy or think it's a conspiracy. The people who thought it was worse than what we even think it is. It's all of those angles. One common denominator is the fact that it is here and it's real. So it's one of those things, man, that 2020 is just going to be one of those years, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll get a little more into that, man, when I finish up my topics. Let me breeze through the rest of them here, man, so we can get through that portion. Next thing I want to talk about here, man, Steelers signed running back Wendall Smallwood. Very interesting. Very interesting. Why do I say that, some people may ask? Well, I say that because it spawns a question that I would have for the Steelers organization. What's your move here? Why do that? You know what I mean? Like, what? Why? This is what I'm saying. Not doubting Wendell Smallwood, but we know, most of you guys would know the type of back he is and, what type of running back, his style and his size, you look at that and say, okay, this guy's probably not a camp body. Okay, that's first and foremost. And the reason why I say that is because he's a veteran. You're not just bringing a veteran in as a camp body. That's the way I look at it. Number two, makes me ask the same question again. Almost the same answer as number one. Why a veteran? You usually bring veterans in because you might have a role for them. Right? And don't get me wrong, some free agents you bring in or whatever, you're just trying to see if they can push some competition and et cetera, yes. But y'all know what I'm trying to say. In the running back group, look at who's already there. You got James Conner, you got Benny Snell, Jalen Samuels, and, of course, our draft pick in McFarland. Then you got Trey Edmonds, and then there's probably some guys behind it. You got Kareth White. See what I'm saying? So you already have a veteran guy that you carried over from last year with speed that we all said that McFarland is probably going to spell the end of him because they're very similar, right? Now, you bring in another guy in the mix that we all, at least me personally, would say, well, he's probably further along than most of those guys. Now, if you want to say, would you rather have him or Kareth White? And let's just take Anthony McFarland off the table. I'm not including him right now. Let's just say those two guys. Who would you rather have, White or Smallwood? Kind of a toss-up. Now, I would imagine that White is faster. I don't know if, I know Wendell Smallwood. I've watched him play, obviously. Y'all know I watch Eagle games, when the Steelers ain't playing. Just because it's another PA team. I check them out from time to time. So a lot of times I'm up on their players. And I saw what he was able to do when he was with Philly. But I wouldn't say that he was as fast as a Kareth White. So they're kind of, different in that regard. I could be wrong, but I don't recall really seeing blazing speed from him. But he's a very shifty back. So who would you keep out of those two? Even if Anthony McFarland wasn't there. You can't put Wendell Smallwood on the practice squad because I'm pretty sure he's not eligible for that unless I'm, My math ain't right, but I don't think the year that he is, I don't think he's still eligible for practice squad. Excuse me. So let's put Anthony McFarland back in the mix. We know he's not getting cut. No way, no how. He's not going to be put on a practice squad. We definitely know that ain't happening because somebody would snag him. James Conner, Benny Snell, and Anthony McFarland, we can pretty much say we know they're going to make the team. Who's the lone man out? Is it the guy that I've been saying all along this year that I think Jalen Samuels might have a chance to get cut? Very possible, in my opinion. Very possible now that we've signed another running back. Again, that's a veteran. Not just some guy off the street, not just some UDFA, not a camp body. This is a guy that's been there and done that. Very, very, very interesting. Let's keep our eyes on it. We know Benny Snell, at least I think we know that. Benny Snell and McFarland are not getting cut. James Conner's not getting cut this year, guys. No way, no how. So, who's at 4th and 5th? And are the Steelers going to keep 4 running backs like they have in the past? See what I'm saying? So, we shall see. All right, guys, the next thing I will talk about, man, a little bit of upsetting news for me. Me personally, and I will explain to you why. And this is not a surface answer. So when you guys hear me talk about this, I know some of you guys are going to, on the surface, you're going to say, oh, that's why he's mad. But no, it's deeper than that. So Stephon Tuitt, posts on social media that he absolutely will not be kneeling. He will be standing. He will be saluting the flag during the national anthem. Okay, great. Let me explain to you guys why that upsets me. Ain't got nothing to do with his preference. Not at all. I could care less whether he feels like he wants to kneel or he doesn't. I don't expect, I don't demand players to protest. You do what you want to do. I'm not judging you, either way. Some people are going to do it that way. Some people prefer to do it elsewhere. It is what it is. I don't get into people's personal preference or their purpose. I don't get into that. It's personal stuff. It got nothing to do with me. I'm just a fan. Here's why I'm upset with Stephon Tuitt, though. As much as I love Tuitt, what was the point of saying that? I hope you guys follow where I'm about to go. Let me take a sip of water, man. Just for a quick second. Let that soak in for a moment. What was the point of saying it? To me, it was intentional. You trying to prove a point? There's no reason that you have to say that. You could just allow the season to come and you stand. There's no reason to take a stance and say this now. Before training camp, before the season. It's a distraction. And I don't want to hear, he was just saying what he wants, it's his own personal social media. You're right. But one thing that people forget, your own social media is not personal. What I'm doing right here on my own YouTube channel is not just personal. All of you guys have the opportunity to see it. And I hope that hundreds of thousands of people see this video. Once you put it out there, it's not yours. You can't say, I was just expressing my thought. No, you aren't. And listen, again, you got to be smart when you are a professional athlete or a public figure. You have to be careful. That comes with the nature of the business. Even me. Some of you guys would consider me a public figure because I have a YouTube channel and you cover the Steelers and I bring this show to you guys each and every week and I give my opinion. Some of you people, I hate saying that you people, some of you guys love what I say. Some of you guys have told me, man, this is the best. I love this show, man, because it's just us right here on the fans level, and I listen to your opinion and your opinion only. Well, me personally, I would say, well, don't just listen to me. listen to others as well, and gather your own thoughts. But I appreciate that. But so it's very important for me to behave in a certain manner, but I'm always going to be me. I don't censor myself as far as you're going to see my raw emotion, my raw feelings, my raw thoughts, and I'm unapologetic about that. But at the same time, I wouldn't come on this show with a gun and waving it and pointing it in the screen. This ain't the place for that. You know what I'm saying? You got to be responsible. I know anything. Excuse me. Well, I don't know why I keep allergies fooling with me, man. I don't know why people don't realize that the things you do publicly, even in the social media, it can have ramifications, man, if you're not careful, because you are somebody. You a professional athlete. So don't give me, I'm just giving my thoughts. Nah, bruh. But like I said, to me, it's deeper than that. Why do you feel like you have to say that? It's similar to what, and I don't want to make this a political situation, but let me just throw it out there for those of you that will understand it and catch it. I'm going to just briefly throw this out there as a comparison. And you guys that are up on, familiar with this situation will know where I'm coming from. It's the same way I feel about Terry Crews right now. Terry Crews don't have to say what he said that got him in, a little bit of hot water on Twitter. There was no need for you to say that. There's no reason for you to give that opinion unless you're trying to make a real point. So for you guys that are familiar with the Terry Crews thing, y'all know where I'm going with that. So that's how I feel about Tuitt. Like, it's almost like when you say that, you are intentionally, going against the grain, if you will, or making your presence felt about how indifferent you are. Or, it kind of comes off like, I don't respect the people that's going to do that. And that's the problem. Whether he meant it like that or not, it comes off like you don't respect anybody who is going to kneel, or you're not educated on what the kneeling is for. You see what I'm saying? So anytime somebody says, oh, it's disrespecting the flag, I'm always going to be on the opposite side. I'm like, see, you won't even understand what this whole thing is about. Even some of y'all in the chat might feel like that. And listen, no disrespect. We still cool. But if you on that side of the fence, it's disrespectful to the flag, and that's all you stuck on, then we on opposite ends, player. You clearly don't understand what that is about. And that's my problem with it. Love Stephon Tuitt. I'm going to love him this season. I'm going to hope Stephon Tuitt is what he was before he got hurt last year. Oh, boy. But that one right there, if I knew him personally, it's one of those pull to the side moments like, fam, you ain't had to say that, though. Like, you didn't have to say that. You could just do it. Like Big Al did last year when he came out of the tunnel that weekend. Or whatever year that was. Might have been a year before. Y'all remember that. He didn't have to tell nobody. He just did it. That's my point. But all right, man, let's bring it back, man. I got a little sidetracked on y'all real quick. I know y'all probably going crazy in the comments. Leonard Green know what time it is with Terry Crews. Yeah. Yeah, but for y'all, if I like to use that phrase. That's why, for you hip hop fans, when my man Pusha T had that song, "If You Know, You Know," that covers so many bases. If you know, you know. I don't have to tell you. If you know, you know. That Terry Crews situation is like, dog, this ain't the time. You ain't need to go out your way to say that. No reason. But yeah, man, it is what it is. And I love Stephon Tuitt. I love Stephon Tuitt, man. So, again, like I said, I'm fair. I'm one of those people, man, and I'm not tooting my horn or nothing like that, but I'm one of those people that I like to call, because this is what I expect from people I know. I'm like the real friend. You could be my man 100 grand, but when you wrong, I'm gonna tell you. And that's my opinion. You might think you're right, but when I feel like, oh, whoa, player, I'm gonna say it. And I don't have no cut card when saying it. Still love you, dap you up, we go hang out and everything. But I'm gonna be like, yo, that what you did right there? You talking about a guy who checked one of his homeboys for smacking a girl. Yes, that happened in my lifetime. He wasn't my closest friend, but he was, you know how your boys have boys and y'all end up being cool? He was one of them dudes. And, little sidebar, he did that, and this is when we was young, like college age or whatever. He thought he was being fly because we were around the corner and he was showing off. And I checked him on it, like, yo, what's that? Like, don't ever do that no more. Don't do that, and definitely don't do it in front of me, period. And at that point, I didn't care what he thought. See what I'm saying? So just trying to show you guys that's who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I knew Stephon Tuitt, I would tell him to his face, like, nah, bro, I don't think you should have. You didn't have to say that. I respect your decision. Fine. That's up to you. But you didn't have to make that known. That it comes off, especially right now, at this time of the year, it comes off like you trying to make a point. But let me get off of that, man. I think I've been on that too long. Let me see. Leonardus, ask me that question later when I come to you guys for comments, because I don't want to forget that one. I like that question, though, about Benny Snell. Hold on, guys. My brother's calling me, threw me off right there for a second. Let's go to the next topic, man. I'm taking a little bit of the time here. We already at 26 minutes. Next topic we'll talk about here, guys. The Steelers cap situation for 2021. And I want to give full credit and full shout out to the good crew at the Steelers Depot, man. I love those guys over there. Alex Kazur, I know Alex has actually watched the show. He watches from time to time. He watches my YouTube stuff. So, Alex, if you see this, man, I appreciate that. Appreciate you, brother. And Dave Bryan. I'm not sure if Dave would ever see this, but Alex, if you see it, you can tell him. You guys know we always talking on Twitter. I give you guys praise because I do believe at what you guys do, you're the best in the business. So anytime I hear something on your podcast, on your site, I'm always going to be a man about mine and show proper respect and say, yo, heard this over there and I agree with it and I give my opinion on it. But I didn't realize, man. I mean, I did, but I just wasn't looking that far. And excuse me, allergies, man. Like I said, that's why people like that are necessary. What they do over there, because they do a lot of research and things that maybe I'm not doing over here. But they start dissecting the 2021 cap situation, and I was like, whoa. Because for you guys that don't know, and I did know this part. Right now they're trying to figure out what the cap situation will be for the league in 2021. What type of effects will this season have on that? Then they're talking about the possibility of the cap going down, being lower than it is this year by about $20 million. That would be detrimental for the Steelers. And, of course, other teams will have to deal with it as well. But we already in a situation where our cap ain't really no cap. You know what I'm saying? So it makes you think like, wow, even without that, it was going to be a struggle. And we got a lot of contracts, coming up next year, even guys. And I know some of you guys don't want either one of these guys on the team, or one of them you don't want, but you got Juju's of the world. You got the James Connors of the world. It's people like that. It's interesting. They said something, man, speaking of Stephon Tuitt, Alex Kazur was like, wow, think about it. If the cap is that low, teams, including the Steelers, will have to gut their rosters. Guys who are not the premier guys. And he said, just imagine if Stephon Tuitt has one more injury. Could be a cap casualty. Wow. We already know guys like Vance McDonald, Vince Williams, those guys are on the short leash anyway. But it did make me look at it, man, because they said, what if, Joe Hayden could be in that boat? And some of you guys would say no way, but yeah. We hope that Joe Hayden has another season this year like he did last year, but he is older. He's plus 30. So if it gets to a point where you're strapped for cash, that's where you're going to go first, is the older guys and the guys that are not your key players. Guys who are not your TJ Watts of the world. Guys who's not Minkah Fitzpatrick, which, Minkah, we already got him sold up. But when you start looking around our roster, as far as guys who are not under contract that are stars, or guys who are under contract that are not stars, that you could cut some dead weight, quite a few guys there. Our offensive line could get gutted. Interesting, man. So if you haven't heard that, man, definitely go listen to their most recent podcast. Came out today. It'll make you a little depressed, man, if you're one of those people of thinking about the what ifs. All right, and the last thing, man, let's get to it. Let me bring it back home. What if there's not a season, man? I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know if we're gonna have a football season, man. I'm gonna be honest about that. The worst thing that could happen is that there's any outbreak situation similar to what the Marlins are going through. If that happens, I foresee the NFL definitely not finishing. I'm really concerned right now that it won't start. This thing is going to have to, seriously get under control in order for us to have a season. Like I said, we already know there's, the player, Arian Springs, in the organization who's on the list. I don't know if he tested positive, but he's at least on that list. That list could grow. There's some people at the Vikings. A bunch of teams are being affected. I think over 100-plus players right now have tested positive since they've started. And you got to think, a lot of guys are reporting to camp today. You would expect, just off of sheer numbers of what's going on in the U.S. right now, you would expect the law averages will say that number is going to rise a little bit. We hope that it's not an explosion. So, I'm going to be honest, I'm scared, man. I'm scared that there will not be an NFL season. Very scared. Now, I will say this, and this is a shameless plug, but I'm going to just throw it out there. I might do some interesting things, man, if there's no NFL season with Terrible Towel Tuesday, man, and try to incorporate Madden. We'll see. I will try to do my best to keep football interesting for us fanatics if there's not a football season. But let's put that on the back burner because I'm hoping that's not even a conversation. But I want to say that to you guys, man, who enjoy the content. And I appreciate you guys for enjoying my content. We'll find a way to make Terrible Towel Tuesday work. Hey, we've done it so far, right? Through COVID and an off season where there's nothing really to get into. Right now, we should be talking about getting prepared to see Dallas in the Hall of Fame game, right? And we've made it this far this summer, so I will find a creative way to still have Terrible Towel Tuesday, get very creative with it, and we'll see if there's no football season. But hopefully we're not saying that. But yeah, man, just to round it up before I get to the calls, let's see if there are any calls. We have 2 calls in the queue right now. I'm not confident, man. I'm really not. Y'all know I like to take the non-optimistic approach with bad situations. Therefore, it's not a surprise, right? It's almost like people will say undersell and overachieve. That's kind of the approach I take with everything. I'm going to prepare myself for the NFL season not to happen. So therefore, whatever we do get, it feels even better because I wasn't expecting it. Kind of reverse psychology with your own mind. How will it affect the season? Y'all never guess the first thing I thought about, right? Let me throw this at y'all, and then I'll take the calls. I'm going to tie it into cap space. First thing I thought about, let's say the NFL season is scrapped. And it's postponed and they're going to pick up next year. To me, that sounds like everyone's contract or tenure just freezes, right? Meaning, let me get right to the meat of it so I can get to the cause. Meaning, I would take that as Ben Roethlisberger would have 2 years left starting from next year if we didn't play this year, right? The reason why that's significant is because in theory, you would say, no, that's not the same because nothing is happening this year. But in reality, that's 2 years, 2 more years we'd have to deal with Ben Roethlisberger's cap situation. That's the first thing I thought about. Like, now listen, don't get me wrong, guys. I love Ben Roethlisberger for what he's been to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will never forget Big Ben because I will always remember, listen, when they drafted him, I had no idea who he was. I didn't even know. I'm going to be honest and tell you guys something that y'all might laugh at. I had never heard of a Miami of Ohio. Never heard of the school. And when they said from Miami, I was like, Miami? He ain't Miami. I don't remember seeing him against my boys, Florida State. I don't remember seeing this dude against Florida State to be drafted first round. He would have been a starter, right? So I was like, Miami, that got to be wrong. So then I did more investigation and it said Miami of Ohio. And I said, whoa, what is that? Never heard of it. So from me to be introduced to him to seeing what he's done in all of these years that we've been watching him, nothing but amazing. Take my hat off to him. Great career. But I'm also, again, I don't tie my emotions so much to the team, to the players. It's about team for me. I'm going to be a fan long after Ben Roethlisberger, God willing. Right? So I'm already thinking life after Ben. Cap space after Ben. And right now, Ben taking up so much cap, my Lord. And it's, yeah. So that's just one of the nutty things I thought about right off the bat, man. But, yeah. Is what it is. But anyway, guys, let's get to the callers, man, so we can get those guys in and out. And then I'll get back to the chat, and then I will be out. So first and foremost, we got our good buddy, area code 803. We're going to grab him first. Following him will be 651. 803, what's going on tonight, man?
Hey, brother, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. The preparation and I kind of harked a little bit on this last week on my question. Uh, how are these players being protected during camp? If this was any other year, Latrobe would be the perfect place, I think, for the Steelers. And now they're in Pittsburgh. You're in the open environment. You're after practice. I don't know where these guys go. So I'm very concerned about that. But other than that, I was wondering who might be potential players for the Pittsburgh Steelers, similar to New England has had a similar mass exodus, who might say, I'm not going to play this season. And I was wondering about that. But thank you so much, and have a good night.
Man, thank you as well, man. Like I said, you always call and drop a perspective on me that either I hadn't heard it or remind me of something I wanted to say. So thank you for saying that, A03, because, yeah, I don't know who the player would be. And my bad to the chat. You guys should have been able to hear him, like, into the call. That was my fault, man. I didn't unmute the browser. My bad. I don't know who the player would be, but ironically, if there was a player that, if I had to think about it, based off of everything that we seem to know about the virus, I would have thought it would be James Conner. Because James Conner, unfortunately has had his bout with cancer and overcome it, you would have thought, and I hadn't thought about it, but let's just say if you would have thought hard about it, you would go through the list and say, okay, it's not about guys not wanting to play. Okay, it's not about the money. What's the biggest thing that scares them? Obviously, contracting the disease, bringing it home, or the virus, bringing it home to your family. That's the worst thing you'd want. That's one concern. High risk. Okay, that would be the one of the bigger concerns. who on our team probably fits that criteria. You would think of James Conner because he's been through cancer. Now, who's to say? I don't know, but one would imagine that maybe his immune system, isn't as strong. However, James Conner made it very clear he has no plans to sit out. So, you see what I'm saying? So I really don't know if Conner is willing to say, I'm not opting out. I'm not sure who on our team do I think at the moment would do that. However, I will say this, and then I'll get to the next call. It's hard for me to speculate who might and who might not do that because this is something totally different. At least I never seen this in my lifetime in terms of how it's affecting sports. So let me say this because I was going to say this earlier and forgot. I don't. All of the players that are opting out, man, I don't knock them. And people, we can't be selfish fans when it comes to something like this. Because I've already seen it with, even guys like Dante Hightower. I've seen fan bases, criticizing these dudes. And I'm like, listen, man, you can't be mad at people for doing what they think is best for them personally. This is a different situation. This ain't, I'm going to pick on him really quick. This ain't Jay Cutler sitting on the sideline in the championship game because he's a little dinged up. Now, even with that, I don't know how hurt he was, but it surely looked like he might have been able to continue. You talking about a guy who watched Byron Leftwich get carried down the field and complete a drive, right? Y'all remember that at Marshall? So, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to toughness, some players I look at like with the side eye, even though you don't know everybody's body. But it ain't a situation like that. This is something totally different, and it's more to think about than just playing. Like I said, even with me, my biggest concern is my little man upstairs, my little 6-year-old, because I know somebody that, unfortunately, and it guy, he's a little younger. He's probably in his mid to late 20s, but I know him and his son both tested positive. His son like 3 years old. See what I'm saying? So my main concern is that little man upstairs. And of course, me and my wife, but we come second to him. So you got to think about that too, man. It ain't just a guy saying, I don't want to play. So sorry for being so long on that reply, guys. I just, 803 gave me the alley-oop there to chime in on that. So let's get these next two callers, guys, and then we can get back to the chat. Area code 651, what you got?
Hey, what's up, Sim? How you doing, man?
Good. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I'm gonna try to get these in quick because it's been a while. But the first issue we was talking about, one of the issues was Smallwood wondering why he was signed. I think it has more to do with us not having a preseason and us not knowing what McFarland is going to do in the NFL. It will put us right back in the same situation that we were in last year if Connor gets hurt. So I just think that was more of a vet move to say, well, we don't know what we got with these other guys, but we know we at least got paper on this guy in the NFL. So I think that was one of the big reasons for that. Other thing is, have you seen the Oakley mask, the mask that Oakley made up for the NFL in college for basically like the eye shield, but it's toward the bottom, same material, but it got like small holes for breathing in it. So I think just the way that the NFL set up with their equipment, I think the on-field playing, I don't think it's a problem. I think it's when they leave the field and they go home and then come back and bring whatever into the locker room. I think that's more of the issue than everything. And I just don't see any way you can fix that because you can't afford to put a bubble on 53 players for each team. So that's a hard one. But, yeah, the other thing is that might cause some debate. I was wondering what you thought about this. If you think Claypool was really the target compared to our boy, which I like him too, but you start looking at the intangibles and the raw athleticism that Claypool has, you wonder, and he's younger, so you wonder, I think he's young anyway, well, it makes you wonder, hey, was he really the original target? And my last thing is I was done with Terry Crews after the Old Spice commercial. Something's weird about those commercials, man. I never understood it. But thanks a lot, man.
Oh, man, you hurt me with that one. Yeah, man. Appreciate you calling. Yeah, guys, if y'all know about Terry Crews, listen, like I said, I ain't gonna go too crazy political on this show. I know y'all ain't here for that, but for those that know. It just what he said, it just was no reason for it. No reason at all. But back to football. I don't know, man. I mean, listen, I think a bunch of those guys was probably on the list. I ain't gonna lie. I think if it would have been interesting if the pick of the litter was right there. However, I honestly do think this is me just being nutty and thinking maybe, they talked with Ben, and I do think that there was a liking for Claypool. I really do. His skill set. I think they really are trying to go back and get a big body speed guy that you could just send down the field. Like what we had in Martavis Bryant. Even though Martavis Bryant didn't appear to be a big body, Martavis was 200 plus, 6'4", 6'5". He was a lot bigger than most people would think. He just had more of a slender look, but could fly. Let it go, Ben. Then look who they tried to have fill those shoes. They bring in, they draft old boy, Sammy Coates, and they started using Coates. You see what I'm saying? So I think Claypool's stature, speed, his mentality, I definitely think that the Steelers was looking at him. However, I do believe my man Pittman might have had a shot to be at Pittsburgh if he was there, perhaps over Claypool. Only because, Pittman is not a burner, but Pittman is your tough, utility type of dude, man, that can catch, your possession guy, can run routes, special teams demon. I think he might have been the more attractive overall than Claypool, but I think the Steelers like Claypool, no doubt. One other thing you said I wanted to talk about, great point about Smallwood. You could be very, very, very right about that. Makes a lot of sense. We know the Steelers like to take veterans and take a shot. We even seen them do that before the draft, right? In certain years if they're not sure. But then that still bears the question. Who's cut? Claypool. McFarland ain't going to be cut. Benny Snell ain't going to be cut. Jalen Samuels? Trey Edmonds, to me, is a non-factor because he's a practice squad guy. So, interesting. We'll see, man. I can't wait to take a look and see. All right, guys. Look like the last call of the night based on time, and it is the last one in the queue. Area code 609. What you got for us?
Who's cut?
609. 609.
McFarland ain't going to be cut. Benny Snell ain't going to be cut.
609, I need you to cut that down in the background, man. You should be able to hear me in the queue. I'll come back to you in a second if I can. But you got to remember, guys, if you call in and you're also listening to the stream, which most of you are, make sure you put your stream on mute. So if you're listening on your computer or mobile device or what have you, and you're calling in on your phone, you got to mute that because, obviously when you're streaming, there's a bit of a delay. We can hear that in the background, so it's kind of, it's clouding our live speech, if you understand that. So I'll try to get back to you, 609. If I don't get back to you, man, I'll definitely apologize. We'll come back to you next week. Let's spend some time in the chat, man. Let me see what y'all got. Fire off the questions. And Leonardus, I remember what you said, so let me chime in on what you said. He said, why do we slow butt, let's say it the clean way, Benny Snell so much? Well, I give you that. He's not the fastest. He's kind of lumbers around. But I like Benny Snell, man. I think what the Steelers like about him is his demeanor when he runs the football. He is a bruiser type of guy, no nonsense type of guy, hits the hole, and he runs with an edge and with a demeanor. I think we saw that. I think Benny Snell is a downhill runner, that can churn out and get you those yards, those 5 yards, 3 yards. He might hit you for a quick 12. One of those type of guys that, can carry the mail, if you will, like an old school bruiser. just ground and pound type of dude. I think that's what was attractive about Benny Snell. And the Steelers like them big. They always get one of those big backs. The funny thing is we usually talking about how the Steelers don't get the shifty, fast back, scat back type of guy. You know what I'm saying? That's what we usually are saying about the Steelers. Think about it. Even Le'Veon was a big boy when they first got him. And, Le'Veon got in tremendous shape when he got in the NFL. You know what I mean? Cut up. This dude, like, what was Le'Veon? Like 6 foot, 6'1"? And cut up, ripped up. But he won't like that in college. They got his weight down. Most of these guys go through transformations like that. I think Benny Snell will come in a little lighter. Jalen Samuels did it, and I think we saw a little more pep to his step last year. James Conner did it. And wow, speaking of, physique, y'all seen James Conner, them pictures? Like, again, I don't want to be talking about another grown man's back, but if y'all seen that dude's pictures, this dude looks like an animal, right? He done put on some crazy muscle and cut up. But again, James Conner even slimmed down his second year, seemed like he was a little quicker. So I think we're going to see that transformation out of Benny Snell, man. But I don't have any complaints about Benny Snell because, again, what you have to put in compartments when you're dissecting players, what is it that the Steelers like about the type of player? Not necessarily the player. Like, we know what Benny Snell is, and they like that for a reason, but I can't compare him to another back, that's nowhere close to him, or a different style. So I think for what Benny Snell is and what he does, I can see why the Steelers like that type of back. Let me see. Excuse me. Let's go back up to the chat and grab a few guys here. Kegels Bagel says, after seeing how Seattle had to give up the bag and half for Adams, it makes our deal for Minka look even better, in my opinion. And Minka might even be better than Adams. Okay, that's it for me, my call. Okay, but let me say this too, just to put it out. Adams is a strong safety, right? Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. So I don't want to compare those guys in that regard. They're different types of players, even though I will say both of those guys are playmakers. And wow, Seattle, my goodness. I mean, let's hope for their sake, that they get a Minka Fitzpatrick type of return, which I think they definitely can. I definitely think that Adams could be for them what Minka was for us. No question about that. Great player. I think he fits their scheme. He's going to do some good things there, but to give up all, the 2 first-round picks, another pick, and McDougal, which McDougal won't a bump. McDougal did all right in Seattle. So, wow. That's all I can say about that. Let's see. Kenyon says, no, if the choice is Pittman or Claypool, I would choose Pittman better all around. Yeah, I'm with you right there. Oh, and Kenyon said Minka is not better than Adams. Come on. Okay, Kenyon. I like that. So explain to them, Kenyon, why you feel like he's not. Jesse George says, thoughts on Seattle giving the okay. I just mentioned that. Jordan Miz says, Benny Snell isn't slow. Who said that he's slow? He's not quick. Yeah, I don't think he's. I mean, listen, if we're comparing him to a speedy back, he's not that. But I don't think he's dirt slow. He's just a bigger guy. He packs a load. Darren Dalton says it's only his second year. It's the prove it year for Snell. I have hope. Yeah, I agree with that, but not saying I'm right or you're wrong or anything like that. But for the Steelers, generally the third year is your prove it year. Yeah, that's usually how they work. But I understand your point. I see where you're coming from. King Kevo says, did Sim go over Steelers Madden ratings? They're outraged. Nah, I didn't go over that. I might do a separate video for that, but I didn't talk about that here. But yeah, man, and it's funny because I'm really cool with, and he knows who he is, the ratings guru, at EA, and I'm always getting on him like, come on, man. Like, I'm always trying to, and now he's finally starting to understand that I'm not biased when I'm giving my suggestions for some of these ratings. Because I'm like, nah, look at these players. Like a Deontay Johnson. You got to give him some love in the route running. You got to. You're going to have to do that. Whether you think he's great or not, you got to give these guys love in the area where they excel. I don't care if they're a rookie or not. You know what I mean? You got to give them some love in the areas where they excel. And I think Madden, and I know it's a bunch of different players and there's only really like 2 people that's doing it. Some things could get overlooked, but nah, man, you got to represent it a little better than that. Sincere Washington says, my question was, do you think the NFL should take notes from the NBA, from what they're doing with the NBA bubble? Do you think it would be a good decision for the NFL? Man, Sincere, see, this is why I love you guys, man. This is why you guys are family. Me and my wife was having that conversation just yesterday, right? Let me see if you guys agree with me here. So my wife said, could they do a bubble like the NBA? Because it's, they're probably going to have to do that for it to be successful. And I said, I don't know, babe, because here's the thing. You guys know this as well as I do. You can't play with so many NFL games in a week, right? NBA is a little different where these guys can get in 2 to maybe 3, possibly 3 games in a week. Sometimes there's back-to-backs. Baseball does the same thing. NFL football don't work like that. So why is that important? Well, the reason why I say that is because there's but so many time slots, right? Let's think about a regular Sunday. So we know on average there's about 14 games played on Sunday, right? During the season, you have one on Thursday night. You have the rest, the other, 13 games or so that are on. No, you have one on Thursday. You have 14 or so on Sunday, and then, the last matchup is on Monday. So on a given Sunday, right, you have the 1 p.m. slot, the 4:05 and 4:30 slot, and then Sunday Night Football. Now, in the real world, there are multiple games being played at once. If you do a bubble situation, how do you do that? The problem that I think they would run into is, one, the field. I don't think you just turn around and let the team, if y'all play at one and then you let these other 2 teams come play on the same field. I don't think that's going to work for more than one reason. I mean, the condition of the field, number one. Not only is the field torn up, but I mean, things like the lines on the field, the representing the team names on the field, because you would imagine they would still do that to some capacity. Even if they didn't do the end zones like that, the lines, them lines get tore up. You got to have the hash marks and all of that stuff got to be there. I don't know how you could do back-to-back games on the same field. So then I said, well, maybe you'll have bubbles in multiple locations. So let me throw this at you guys and see if this will work. It sounds crazy, but follow me. Let's say they identify, to make it easy, all of the stadiums in the NFL that are indoors. And I probably forgot one yesterday when I was naming them off to her. I was saying, you got Indy, you got New Orleans and Atlanta. I believe Minnesota can still be closed, I believe. You got Dallas that you can close that off. I believe Houston Stadium also can be closed off. Detroit. There's some I might be missing, but you guys get the gist. So let's say you only focused on, say, 5, maybe 5. I don't know if that's the number, but just follow where I'm going. Maybe you focus on all of the teams that are indoors, not stadiums, and each teams will just have to rotate around these stadiums. So your bubble situations will be basically in those cities. So let's say if Pittsburgh goes to play, say we play the Ravens and we have to play what's probably the closest to us. We'll probably have to go down to Atlanta. Right? Because I don't think there's anything closer than that indoors. So say the Steelers and the Ravens, now we play in Atlanta, right? And there's bubble situations, whether hotels or whatever you do to create, this is the place where the NFL players will be rotating. We bubbled in there for a week, and we all playing in that playing in that stadium. We leave, we go to the next bubble location. These other 2 teams come here the next week. And it'll basically be like 5 bubbles that you're rotating around. And I still don't see how you could have multiple. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know how that would work in the NFL. That's the long and short of it. I don't know how you would make it work. Is it possible? Maybe. Somebody said Detroit is closest to Pittsburgh. Yeah, it might be. Geographically, that's Midwest. And yeah, I guess, Detroit is probably closer in theory. But I don't know. But y'all see what I'm saying? I don't know how that would work. I don't know how that would work. We're at an hour, guys. So it's about time to wrap up. So let me read a few more comments. I'll give you guys about 2 extra minutes. I was told that I should always tell you guys this earlier in the call, and I never remember to do it, so forgive me. But, of course, guys, if you want to donate to the cause, man, you can always do so here live on the show. There's a $ at the bottom of the chat. Click that $, and it'll simply tell you how to do so. If you prefer to do so outside of YouTube, like a lot of you do, shout out to Miss Lanisha Hayes, just did that recently. There's PayPal, there's Cash App. Both of those options are readily available. The description and the contact information for those are in the description. So there you have it. Let's read a couple more comments. Sippy Boy says, "You right. If I didn't say he was better than Pittman right now, I would say he was more athletic and has a chance to pass him. If you think NFL teams don't take potential over polished, you're crazy." Okay, I think him and Kenyon are going back and forth. Yeah, I think you could argue that both ways. There's some NFL teams that just go after pure raw talent, and then there's others that go for the more polished. Honestly, I think the Steelers are more of a go for the more polished type of team. And we see it all the time in free agency. Look, we just saw it today. What my man said, with Wendell Smallwood. Clearly, the Steelers are going to get a security blanket. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. Let me read like 2 more. Two more. Yeah, you might be right about that, Kegel. I don't know. I was just spitballing, man. You said indoors would be worse, but I was just spitballing, and if we're following what the NBA is doing, they're playing inside. You see what I'm saying? So I don't. There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm not gonna be that guy. I'll just throw an idea out there, but there's no right or wrong answer here when it comes to this COVID-19, because none of us really know what the answer is. Builder's Life says, "Can the NFL use the Disney wide world of sports fields? That's where they do all of the Olympics." Yeah, maybe. But again, the question to you guys, because it's passing through my mind and I don't know how it would work. The question would be, how do you play that many NFL games in a weekend or what have you on the same field? How do they make that work? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So I'll read one more. I see Kenyon and Sippy still going at it about it. I love it, man. We all have opinions, man. But I love seeing good banter. No disrespect and nothing like that. They just, good banter. That's what it should always be when you're having conversation. Come on, somebody else give me one more comment, man, so I can get out of here. Drew says, Drew, since I'm reading your comment, I'm going to read the one from above, too. He says, take what you're saying, but shift bubbles, not every week, but longer between, maybe. He says, the divisions that face each other go to the same bubble and play all of their games, then shift teams once done. But honestly, nothing will probably work. That's a great idea. But yeah, like you said, when we get into the, the minutia of it, don't know. But that could work. But the crazy thing is, I guess what you would do is you would have it at the beginning of the season and at the end, right? So theoretically, what you would do, the AFC North is going to play each other. So they bubble all of them, and 1 week Pittsburgh plays the Ravens at 1:00, and then Cincinnati plays the Browns at let's say Monday Night Football hours. So that gives them enough time. Or, one plays Saturday, one plays Sunday. Something like that might work. But again, we still talking about multiple bubbles still to be able to do that. So you'd have to have an AFC North bubble, NFC North bubble, and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I don't know the answer. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get up out of here, man. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And whoa, just before we go, Leonardus, love that name, by the way. That's dope, man. Appreciate the donation. I'm sure it's going to ring off here in the chat where you guys can see it with the applause as well. So I don't have to do it manually. It should do it there. There it is. So salute to you, man. I appreciate the donation, man. You guys, you always surprise me with that, man. I appreciate you guys doing that. But outside of that, y'all know the routine, man. If you haven't already, you make sure you subscribe. That's easy. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you subscribe to the channel. What's going on here on my computer, man? Something crazy. Crazy.
2-minute warning.
Happening. Oh, look at that, guy. I didn't even have... Y'all didn't even tell me I didn't have the screen up. It was just me. I didn't have the phone number or any of that there, so I was all off my rocker tonight. But here we go. Do that. Do that, man. It doesn't hurt you to subscribe. Cut on your notification and boop, hit that thumb button. Thumb it up. Thumb it up. But outside of that, man, guys, please, please, please be safe. Do what you can to contribute to everyone's safety, including yours, and not just yours, but yours, family included. You know what I mean? So make sure you guys are doing that. And oh, wait a minute, Kegel. Oh, you know what, Kegel Bagel? Yes. Before I go, let me talk about that because I meant to talk about that earlier in the show. What in the world were the Pirates doing last night? Listen, man, I'm not the biggest baseball fan, and some of you guys would know my story. I adopted the Pirates as my team 2 years ago. Long story, less long. Let me say this really quick. I grew up more or less an honorary Yankee fan, okay? I have a lot of family in New York, and then, you know, I love the Yankee fitted, especially when I was doing my music. That was like my go-to hat. Love the Yankee fitted, right? I'm a Jay-Z fan, and he rocked the Yankee fit. You know, it's just so much connection with the Yankees. My wife is from the Bronx. Most of her family is, you know, Yankee fans. So I was just an honorary fan. I wasn't into baseball enough to have a real team. So 2 years ago, started playing MLB The Show. I said, you know what? I'm going to pick a team of my own. I'm not just going to ride the coattails of the Yankees. And look how funny that happens, right? Soon as I got off of them, here come Judge. And now they killing it, looking like they might win another title, right? But it is what it is. So I adopted the Pirates. And I said, I'm going to root for this team because I'm still a fan. And the only team that I didn't like in Pittsburgh was a baseball team. So I adopted them. Long story less long. I'm watching the game last night, and these guys are up by 4. I want to say in the 9th. Was it the 9th or the 8th? Somebody correct me with that. But either way, it was either the 8th or the 9th, and they were up by 4, and they lose the game. In the 10th inning, my man Dyson, listen. I don't know how you do that, brother. And you start off the bottom of the 10th with a man on second. This cat strikes out attempting to bunt with no outs. Strikes out. He strikes out on bunt attempts. And we go from stopping them in the 10th to getting possession. Like you're in the bottom of the 10th. A man on second. You listen to what I'm saying. They have this rule now. I don't know if they're just trying it out or whatever, but you start with a man on second. That's scoring position in baseball, folks. Once you get to second base, especially when there are no outs, the game should be over. All you need to do is get a base hit or pop fly. And they still lose in the 11th. Go figure that out. Pathetic. But my man Kegel just, oh, Lord. See, look at this. See what Kegel just said? Now it's 2-2. God. And I know some people are going to say, man, why would you pick the Pirates to root for? But agony right there in the heart, man. That's how I felt last night. Like somebody was just jabbing me like, dog, you can't lose a game like that. But anyway, back to the routine, man. Please make sure you guys stay safe, man. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I definitely appreciate you guys for tuning in. Love, love, love. And y'all know what it is, man. Be safe. God bless. Good night. And thank you for tuning in to Terrible Towel Tuesday. Peace.